So let's talk about self-care in the middle and during your business busy season. I'm Andreka from Andreka Photography and Coaching, here again on this lovely grayish lost voice Tuesday morning to talk about self-care because we all need it. Case in point, especially when it comes to running your business. So today, in today's talks, we're going to talk about self-care. It is so important, especially during busy season, to take care of yourself. But there are ways you can do it that you feel like you aren't walking away from your business, and there's ways that you don't want to ever let your clients down and you don't want to skip a beat. So what are ways prior to hitting a wall that we can talk about self-care and not let it mean I'm going to take 4 days off because I deserve it type idea? And I need to quote, take care of myself, because self-care is a comment that is being used a lot in business and in life. And then there's self-care, and then there's also not communicating your needs and your self-care with your clients so that your clients just think you're flaking. So what are ways that you can do it? And in this talk, we're going to talk about what does self-care look like in terms of business and in business terms. What does it look like, and when is the time to focus on your self-care and when is it not? Like, when is it good to focus on your self-care before you hit the wall? And then how to implement self-care into your routine really easily that doesn't let you hit the wall like I did. Like I'll be honest, I have a tendency this time of year to take up everything and go, 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 go. But then I also want to be social and have my own time. So then I go hard on both ends until I end up losing my voice. And to be honest, it always ends up happening at the end of July, beginning of August for like a 48-hour period. But that's when I eat my Slovenian honey, drink my liquids, and I'm not gonna lie, after this I'm gonna crawl into bed and probably edit from bed, which I know my mother would say, rest is rest, just rest. But, you know, you can't always listen to your mother. Anyways, Mom, you're probably listening to this right now, aren't you? So we're gonna talk about these three things. We're gonna start with, what does self-care mean in terms of business, right? When you're running a business, it's totally different than taking care of yourself when you're employee, right? You take a sick day. Sometimes you can't take a sick day when it comes to business, but you can figure out ways to do these things. So, number one, prioritize your physical health, right? Schedule some workouts, make time for physical activities you enjoy, use those fitness apps. But also, it's not just about the exercise, it's about the moving. So, even if it's something very little, I do 1 minute of yoga. 1 minute, it sounds ridiculous, but 1 minute of yoga every morning, and it settles my system, it calms my nervous system, it helps. And 1 minute of yoga, there's doesn't take much work. You don't have to put on working out gear. You can literally do it at the side of your desk, right? You don't have to go outside. It doesn't pull you away from your business, doesn't pull you away from your emails. Nothing in your business is going to change if you're doing 1 or 2 minutes of stretching. So, and that focuses your physical health. It gets you moving, right? Number two, set boundaries. Clearly define your work hours and you communicate them to your clients. You can use autoresponders. You can manage expectations. You really want to do this because if you don't set boundaries early on, and a lot of the things we're going to talk about today is also going to relate back to last week's talk about burnout, because burnout and self-care kind of go in together. So when it comes to setting boundaries, you want to definitely make sure your clients also know your work hours. Like for me, for example, I don't love getting texts. So I set boundaries with emails. And I think I try to be really good about communicating that when a client comes in, let's say, for example, this past week, I had photo shoots back to back to back to back to back. And my email box was getting more and more full, which meant all the clients who had contacted me on Thursday weren't hearing back. The minute I had 5-10 minutes, instead of going and trying to actually answer every single email, I just wrote, hey, I'm in the middle of shooting. Again, autoresponders come in great. I have a tendency to just do personal communication. I hear you. I see you. I'm going to get to you on Tuesday. That's all they want. They just want to know they're being heard. If they need something, then they can respond back and you can prioritize them. But for the most part, set the boundaries early on. When you work, when you respond to emails, you can even have it as a little like signature at the bottom of your emails. We have our office hours from 3 to 5, Monday through Friday or whatever. Okay, setting boundaries, number two. Three, time management. It's great to use time management. There's tools out there that can do it, that can help you organize your tasks and projects. I have a tendency to look at my calendar. If you look at my Google Calendar, sometimes I even have the actual word shower in there because I know, let's be realistic, if you have your goals or your list of things to do and you put them in there and one thing leads to another, you forgot the whole shower aspect. So put in break times, put in showers, use your time management so all of a sudden you don't feel like I'm behind, I'm behind, I'm behind. Because ultimately, stress in your business is the opposite of self care. So, really, the self care is there to manage the stress that's going to inevitably be there. And how do you minimize that level? Another really great way, we talked about this last week in burnout, setting realistic goals. See, I have to take a little sip. Setting realistic goals. Don't get big, gigantic goals that are going to stress you out, but then all of a sudden you're pulling 24-hour all-nighters like you did in college. And if you're running a business, you don't have the energy and capacity like you did when you were a 20-year-old to pull all-nighters and then keep on going the next day. So by setting these realistic goals, small little pieces, break them all down. Like I talk, again, the website example, don't make the website the goal, make each little step a goal, and then celebrate them. And then it's huge, rest and recovery. You want to make sure you get enough sleep, which we'll talk a little bit more later. You want to have time that you have to rest. Even though, again, in the middle of busy season, you feel like that list is growing. If you're communicating clearly with your clients and setting realistic expectations, they understand and you build in the time for rest. Granted, when you're first starting your business, or this often happens, when you first start your business, you've got all the time in the world and you kind of want to work on it, right? Then something clicks. At some point, there's a tipping point in the business where you're behind. But you've been so much time having all the time in the world that you didn't use that time to set up systems, to set up a schedule, to set up patterns, that then you get into it and you're like, I'm 20 weddings deep and I haven't edited any of them and I don't have time for anything else. Setting them up early is going to helpful. Set up that time for the rest and recovery aspect is key. So we're going to talk about how to do that a little bit later. But now let's talk about when to focus on self-care and when necessarily not to, right? So number one, you got to figure out when you're like, oh gosh, my self-care is falling to the wayside and I'm going to end up with a voice like Andreka if I don't take care of it soon. One, we talked about this last week a little bit, recognize the burnout. You got to find out exactly when you're going close to burnout before you're there, because burnout is going to be the next step, or the first step to not feeling well. Identify signs like exhaustion, lack of motivation, take immediate steps to rest and recharge. Last night, I hit a wall and I took a NyQuil and I passed out and I had a good night's sleep. Doesn't sound like it, but I did. I'm definitely on the mends. And then that's number one. Two, you want to balance your busy season. So plan your year with high and low seasons in mind. So allow for downtime during the slower periods for you to recover. I also think it's really good to balance a busy season with down moments. You can't go super hard and sustain that for very long without, again, getting in those moments of rest and recovery. So plan that in your schedule. Do that with your time management. Put in little moments of time where you do a little bit of yoga, or you go for a walk, or you go have a cup of coffee with a girlfriend or boyfriend or friend. And just relax, pull your brain away, which we'll talk a little bit more again. Pull your brain away from your business. You're allowed to. I had a friend the other day who was really exhausted and tired and stressed, and she was about to pull out her computer and start working, and I literally shut it in her face and said, go for a walk. You know, like sometimes you also need a friend to do that for you. Assess your workload. So I'm not going to lie, my mother literally lectured me about this yesterday. And she's like, honey, why did you do this to yourself? How did you book so much in one day and da-da-da? And I'm like, Mom, it's what I do. And I know I should know better. Assess your workload. So regularly review your schedule and your commitments, right? Luckily, I have an amazing assistant who helps me and will delegate things. And she saw my list today And she goes, how can I take this off your plate? So I was able to give her some stuff, which makes me able to focus on me for a little bit more. And you want to look at your workload as far as photo shoots. How many can you actually realistic? Of course, you want to take everything in. We have that drive and need to, but sometimes it's good to say no. Listen to your body. Finally, listen to your body. Pay attention to the physical symptoms: stress, headache, muscle tension. Take breaks to stretch and walk. Meditate if you'd like to meditate. This is again where I have a tendency to do little bits good, but then all of a sudden I'll forget for a few days and then I feel it, especially again during busy season. So listen to your body before it gets too late. And even if your body isn't talking to it at the moment, again, setting those systems up earlier. I know we talk a lot about systems when it comes to business, but you don't think about there being a system that you put into place for having self-care regulated, regularly scheduled. All right. So then, number 5, huge, setting priorities and making you a priority along with your business. So it's a really great idea to set your priorities. There's different types of tools, Eisenhower Matrix, and that can prioritize your tasks based on the urgency and the importance. I use ClickUp. It also has the flag system that you can see what's important and what's not. And when it comes down to it, if you're really tired, I know for me, oftentimes, I know I'm best doing emails at the time that my brain is functioning at its peak, because emails are going to take more from me oftentimes, or proposals, than say editing. I've been doing this business for so long that editing is something that doesn't take a lot of brain work, which means if I'm at a priority and I'm trying to set my priorities between my physical and mental health, right? Like if I'm starting to feel tired, but I still feel like I need to do some work, I'm bound to edit or call or do the thing that comes easily to me that I don't really have to think too hard at, because I'm trying to rest my brain a little bit. All right, so now let's talk about the fun thing. I'm making this a quick one, kind of quick. How to implement self-care into your routine. This one I love. Daily rituals. Start your day with a routine that might include stretching or meditation or coffee or reading the newspaper or whatever that looks like. I know for me, I try as best I can several days a week. I don't schedule anything before 10 a.m. And this is even if it's busy season, I don't start until 10 a.m. Sometimes a little earlier, once in a while, which is one reason this call is at 10 a.m. 2 days a week and not earlier like it was. But like in the winter when I do these calls, it's at 7 a.m. my time. But at that point, I'm having a lot more time to rest and recovery and take care of myself. In the middle of busy season, I know there might be days that I need to sleep. I might go to bed late because of a shoot. I might go to bed late because of editing, and I want to prioritize that sleep. So I have my own rituals that I want to do, and I give myself until 10, whether that's the coffee or the walk or the meditation or just the sleep. That's my daily ritual. Regular breaks. Use techniques like the Pomodoro technique to take short, regular breaks during your work hours, right? So, for example, we all have a tendency to sit in our computers and go and go and go and go and go. The Pomodoro effect, and I can't remember the numbers, and I talked about this about last week with the burnout, is you basically work for a period of time and you set an alarm, and when that alarm goes off, you take a 5-minute break. So you're moving away from your computer, you're looking outside. They also say a lot to balance your brain. It's good to look at the computer and then every so often look away and focus. So you want to focus your eyes away for a while just to like reset your nervous system. So your nervous system is going to activate so many things, including your immune system. So when it comes to your nervous system, even how you look close up is going to be more activating than far away. There's a connection between the eye and the nervous system. So even if your break is just looking outside the window and taking 10 deep breaths, it's going to help. Number 3, another way to implement self-care into your routine: do a digital detox. Set aside a time each day to unplug from your devices, morning, night, however you want to do it. 5 minutes in the middle of the day, 10 minutes, whatever it is. Turn all the digital devices off. Don't look at your cell phone. Don't look at your computer. And We're not asking you to go 24 hours, 48 hours a week. We're saying just a little bit of time every day. Personally, I have my phone set on Do Not Disturb pretty much all the time. And the only time I look at my phone is when I'm expecting something or I realize, oh, it's been like an hour. I should maybe just check. This way, every time my phone dings, I'm not activated. It doesn't exist. I look at it like an old school phone when they would like the phone would ring hardly ever, right? Like I don't look at the phone until I want to look at the phone. It does not control me. That's why I like the whole Apple Watch. I love the idea of it, but my gosh, if it was always on my wrist, every time it looked, ding. You're constantly being pulled out to what you're focusing on. And that is a big thing when it comes to the burnout and the self-care idea is being able to just focus and not be pulled in a million different directions, because when your brain is being pulled in all the different directions, it's not going to help you stay well. And then it's really important to schedule your downtime. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Block out time on your calendar, whether it's for hobbies or socializing or just relaxing, whatever you like to do, whatever feeds your soul. It doesn't have to be a long time, but take it just as seriously. This is the thing to really do. This is a huge. If you do nothing else from this talk, do this. Schedule your time as actual work appointments. Put it in your calendar and make yourself do it like you would a work appointment. Don't say, I'm going to go for a walk a little later today, or I'm going to go stretch and listen to my meditation a little later today. Say, I'm going to do this at 8 a.m. every day. I'm going to do this at 8 a.m. every other day. I'm going to walk the dog every day at 4 p.m. Because walking the dog is a really good excuse to get outside. It pulls you away. It feels like you're being productive while you're actually still taking care of yourself. That is, of course, if you like walking the dog. Only do what you like. And then number 5, this is the key. And I'm ending on this one because I'm going to take a nap this afternoon, even though it's in the middle of busy season. Because here's the thing. If you start feeling yourself getting down in the middle of craziness, you're better to kick it in the butt right away than to let it linger on and on and on and let it affect you long term. And this is where sleep hygiene. Establish consistent sleep routines. Create relaxing bedtime routines. I listen to a meditation every night that literally knocks me out. I knew the minute I woke up yesterday that I was starting to hit my wall and that last night was going to be the night that I go to bed early. And I go to bed early, I take a NyQuil, I knock myself out, and I sleep. And today is a day that I'm going to rest as long as I can until I have a shoot later. So that is today's talk about self-care. And as I'm talking about this self-care, I'm going to go take care of my own self. If you have any questions, or as always, if you have anything to say or add, I'd love to hear it. And I hope you're all doing well and go take care of yourself. Thanks, friends.